do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis. Here. Trustee Schiappa.
Here.
Trustee Paveza.
Here.
Trustee Snyder.
Here.
Trustee Meitel.
Here.
Trustee Model.
Here.
Mayor Grasso.
Here.
7-0.
All right, takes us to number 2, resolutions, consideration of resolution ratifying directive
Point of order, Mayor Grasso.
of the mayor that,
Point of order. How are we having a meeting here? We didn't give 48 hours notice.
okay, you want to talk about it, Mike?
Yes, the comment that made me begin looking at this concern, whether there was a website posting 48 hours in advance. The Open Meetings Act specifically provides that failure to post on your website 48 hours in advance.
His mic's not on.
Oh, your mic is not on, Mike.
I'm sorry. The item that brought this to my attention was an email that alleged that the meeting wasn't posted on the website 48 hours in advance. Section 202 of the Open Meetings Act in paragraph B, as in boy, states, quote, "The failure of a public body to post on its website notice of any meeting or the agenda of any meeting shall not invalidate any meeting or any actions taken at a meeting," close quote. So that particular allegation does not impede the ability of the village board to meet. Secondly, I determined that there was an amendment made to the agenda to add a new item to the agenda after it was posted 48 hours in advance. That amended agenda and that item weren't available 48 hours in advance of the meeting, so that particular item would not be able to be considered under the Open Meetings Act. With respect to all the other items on the agenda, those all appeared on the posting of the original agenda, and they have remained posted for 48 hours when the amended agenda was posted. Since they were contained within that document, there has been compliance with the Open Meetings Act.
Further point of order, can you clarify where the meeting was posted 48 hours ahead?
Several different newspapers were notified, and the agenda was posted in the Village Hall.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
is it the same process
Yes,
that we use for our normal meetings?
yes.
So did we violate any Open Meeting Act?
My opinion is you did not violate the Open Meetings Act with respect to the web site posting being delayed until Tuesday morning. However, my recommendation to you is not to consider item number 5 on the amended agenda. So when we get to that matter, my advice will be not to consider that.
Gary,
Yes, sir.
question. As far as the meeting goes, when we had our regular board meeting, didn't we set it then? Because I remember being asked, and I said I couldn't work Monday or Tuesday, but I could work Wednesday, and you said, we'll make it Wednesday.
Right, but we still have to do the formal notices. So, I mean, we did it, an informal notice, but that, we have to do the formal notice.
Okay.
And that formal notice was posted, and the agenda items that were on the original agenda were posted and available for 48 hours.
Any other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Consideration of resolution ratifying directive of the mayor that trustee Zachary Model cease communicating with village staff and requiring that all communications by trustee Model be directed to Mayor Grasso. You saw the resolution in your packet that was provided prior to the meeting. Can I get a motion?
Second.
Okay. Discussion.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm curious what authority you cite that gives Burbridge the power to do this?
I think it's a resolution that the board can pass. It's stated the basis of it, and I can read the resolution into the record if you want that read. But the basis of the resolution is in the whereas clauses and in the sections 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Yes.
Right. So I don't see that the Illinois Municipal Code gives you any power to do this. I see that this is, completely made up. You can pass it, but I don't see how it stands, and not going to pass legal muster. I think it's a waste of time, and again, I think it's contrary to the process here. I'm a legislator. You can agree with me, you can disagree with me, you can like me, you can not like me, but you can't legally cut me out of the process.
Well, let's be clear about this, Zach. Are you done?
Thank you.
Okay. There is no intention of cutting you out of the process, so to speak. That is your definition, and typical, you define something and then make it true. That isn't the truth here. If you can find someone else that will deal with you, and here is the background so that the public knows. There has been constant interruptions, verbal attacks, accusations on staff, trustees, the police, and me, constantly since May, when this mayoral term started. None of the allegations you have made, the accusations you have made, have been supported by anything in fact. All of these interruptions for many months into 2019 led to the village and the board adopting its first code of conduct. That code of conduct was passed because of you. You still continued to insult the senior staff, write emails to the chief and staff, and you insisted on acting contrary to the code of conduct. In November, this board censured you for the first time. Things still did not stop. You continued your same practices. When we went to Zoom meetings in March, you continued to interrupt the proceedings and going so far as to even interrupt the proceedings when Karen Thomas was retiring. In January, after the first censure being again November of 19, I sent an email, which has been sent around, because the staff came to me and said they did not want to deal with you. Okay? And nobody on the board wanted to. So I suggested, as the mayor, that you communicate with me, and if there was anything that you needed, I would get it to you. I sent you that email in January, and I also sent a confirmatory email to all the trustees. You would not go through me. That was your choice. There were times that you suggested and demanded things. I tried to get you what you needed. You still went and FOIA'd things. And I don't know how many FOIA requests we've had, but they're into the dozens, if not 20 or more. So I don't know of anything you haven't been given through this process. Then you continued the attacks, and this board then censured you again, a second time on April 13th. You continued, and this board censured you again for the third time on April 27th. You continued again through COVID, through all the problems that this village, like all villages in America were going through. You still insisted on interrupting meetings, not attending by Zoom, and not doing the things that all the other trustees were doing. This board then censured you a fourth time on August 24th. The trustees went as far as to now send a letter to the Patch because of what you were doing, demanding your resignation, which you've refused to do. The abuse continued, calling the police, the crime ring, and then you insisted, I believe the last meeting, you questioned and questioned council about the policy having never been passed in a resolution. I think I sent you an email saying, Zach, if you want a resolution, I will certainly put it on for the board's consideration. You continue to act in the way you've been acting consistently and disruptively since this mayoral term began. And so it is now before the board. I haven't been told by council that there's anything illegal about this. And I don't want to be the person who is the contact person. In fact, we've gotten people who said that they disagree with this. We had several emails that are before you, I think, Ms. Hamilton, Mr. and Mrs. Lampert, Ms. Davis, Mr. and Mrs. Raymond, and while it's not here, I think maybe almost just before the meeting, we got something from Mrs. Galindo. If any of those residents want to be the intermediary between you and the village staff and the trustees and me, I'm more than happy to work. I don't want to deal with you. You don't probably want to deal with me. But I know no other solution to this problem. So, the resolution is before you, I think, and I'll recognize you in a second, Zach.
Thank you.
The resolution's before you. There was an amendment that I believe council wanted, which is, you guys have the revised one? There's one that has a paragraph that says, whereas on November 4, 2020, the Board of Trustees adopted resolution blah, blah, blah. Do you have that?
No, that's for Monday nights.
Oh, that would be for Monday nights? Okay.
I've got the proposed language. Trustee Lyle? Pass those down now. Thank you. Pass one.
Okay, so which,
It was my understanding that, Mayor, you were going to seek a trustee or several trustees with respect to listening to the verbatim recordings of the closed sessions, because you were concerned that
yeah,
you didn't
I'm
want
sorry.
to deal
Thank
with
you.
trustee Model, and maybe it's a two-way street, so if anyone else was willing to step up,
Okay,
I prepared this so that you could entertain a motion to amend the resolution that was in the packet and fill in the blanks with the name of a trustee or trustees who would be willing to serve in that function. That is the only exception to the ratification of your directive that you issued on January 20th, 2020.
so thank you for that reminder. There was an incident, I think it was
Yeah,
October
I'm
7th.
still waiting, please.
Wait, let me finish and then
Thank you.
I will recognize you. Al's got his hands, I'll let everybody speak.
Thank you.
Just to finish my background for this, and then certainly everybody who wants to comment can comment. There was an incident in the lobby, I think it was October, I don't know which day, when trustee Model showed up. Despite several emails that I've sent him suggesting dates and times to meet for him to hear and listen to the closed session tapes of two meetings that he missed on September 14th. He missed that one without any explanation, and he still hasn't explained why he missed it. And he also missed on two meetings, the next meeting on the 28th, because he wouldn't join through the Zoom process. I suggested dates and times, he would not agree to them, and he showed up here in the Village Hall. made scene. The staff was very upset and came to me, came to senior staff, talked to the police. Then it was somewhat repeated on October 26th, and then, of course, we also saw what happened at the meeting on October 26th that led to, the first time in my memory, a board expelling anybody, and in this case, Trustee Model, from the meeting. So this isn't about cutting Trustee Model off. If anybody knows how to do this better and he can communicate in a civil manner with somebody and then deal with the village, is fine. If any of the people that sent in emails wish to be that intermediary, if someone other than me, if someone else wants to volunteer and do it, I certainly don't want to do it. But I happen to be sitting in this chair, so I don't know who else can do it. That said, I want to thank Trustee Francis and Trustee Snyder because they both volunteered to step up and sit with Trustee Model if he still wishes to hear the closed session tapes or any closed session tapes. And that will take me out of that mix, and I'm more than happy to do that. So the amendment, thank you, to this, and then I'll turn to those that want to speak. The amendment to this resolution has that paragraph in here, which is now section 3, which reads, effective upon adoption of this resolution due to the fact that village staff have expressed their apprehension of interacting with Trustee Model, a limited exception to the protocol ratified in section 2 herein above shall be made in instances in which Trustee Model, while holding an elected municipal office, requests access to verbatim recordings of closed meetings pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2.06 paren E close paren. The persons authorized to be present during Trustee Model's access to verbatim recording shall be Mayor Grasso, Trustee Francis, and/or Trustee Schneider. So that's the addition. Now, Zach, yes.
Yes, thank you. So you've said a lot, and I've got a lot to respond to, so I hope you'll give me the appropriate time and opportunity. First, I disagree with your characterization of the history of things. You're certainly entitled to your opinions of how things went down. I'm certainly entitled to my opinion of how it went down. And I disagree with your characterization of basically everything of how we've gotten to this point, and that I've been a problem that you've provided me everything I've asked for. For example, the legal bills. There is right now, it's before the Attorney General under a request for review. You've not provided me current copies of the legal bills that I asked for. I had to file a FOIA. I believe the FOIA was deficient, and the Attorney General has agreed that there is a reasonable reason for review. So that's happening right now. Regarding the closed session recordings, I do still seek access to them. I don't see anywhere, I read 5 ILCS 120/2.06E. The Attorney General cited it back to you because it is also being under request for review. They've taken that up as well, and they don't seem to see that there's any reason we don't need a trustee. We don't need you there. Any recording clerk or official can do it, and it's not a matter of whether they'd like to do it. It is their job. If Doug or any of the other recording officials are refusing to do their job, well, that's a dereliction of their duties. It is not about liking or wanting or anything of that nature. So it's not about needing a trustee or a resident or anyone else. It's about doing what the law says, and the law is very clear. And again, the Attorney General is already reviewing this, and I think you're somewhere in the deadline to respond to this. So I think that you're definitely going the wrong direction here with this. I do need access to the recordings. I don't believe that there was any threats or problem or scene created. I believe you're trying to gaslight me like you've done to now apparently Jerry Sapp and other people. So, we can disagree with that. I won't get into it any further, but I've not been provided access to everything, and there is a way forward. Simply allow the staff to do their job. I think they can handle it. I think they're competent. As far as Doug, any attacks, you and I had a disagreement that led to the first censure where I said you and Jerry were either incompetent or insubordinate, and I believed that based on the information I was or was not getting, and I still stand by that remark based on what I had. However, I now need to apologize to you. I realized that I was being fed misinformation by another member of the village staff about you, about Jerry, and about other people, and in fact, some of those messages I've given to y'all here today and stuff, and I saw them in one light with the information I had, but now that I've received more information, I see them in a different light, and I see, just like with Jerry, that he was maybe not part of the problem, but actually a victim, and maybe Doug, I feel the same for you. So I don't think that it's appropriate for the mayor to control the communications, to control the flow of information. Mayor Grasso would like to control the information to all of us, would like to control what we get from staff, control what staff gets from us, and that's just not how it works. The staff reports to the board. The Illinois Municipal Code makes it very clear. They don't report directly to the mayor. Staff reports to all of us. We are peers and equals. And so the staff needs to do their job. Over a dozen residents have emailed in, and I think their emails should be read into the record, and there were more sent tonight. They're all opposed to this. There's not been one resident saying you're doing the right thing here, Mayor. So I don't see how you're going the right direction with this. I certainly am not the majority on the board. I'm a majority of one apparently here, one person trying to hold up for what's right, what's ethical. And you can disagree with my claims and my allegations. I have provided proof. I've provided them to appropriate authorities and appropriate times. And I'm aware that people are looking into these things. This issue is not done yet. It's not settled. And I would caution the board not to allow him to usurp your authority, not to allow him to take control of this and run this meeting, that it is bringing serious legal liability to this village. 7 figures, I think, of legal liability to this village. I'm not a lawyer, but I've heard from people. This is not a good direction to go, and I please urge you all to not pass this resolution, to table this indefinitely. That I would also remind you all that after the election, the first meeting, I tried to shake Mayor Grasso's hand. He brushed by me. I told the newspaper, I said, let's put it behind us and move forward. The election's over. He brushed by me. A few weeks later, he sued me, and he's still suing me. And so if anyone wants to say that that this has been a personal attack or a tough environment, I would argue that this man has certainly engaged at least halfway, if not more. And I would also tell you that my comments to the newspaper after the election were, when he's right, I'll work with him, and he's wrong, I'll hold him accountable. And that is exactly what I've done. I've made motions to support some of Mayor Grasso's items. You may not all recall, but there's plenty of them in the record. And I voted for some of his suggestions, not all of them. And that is exactly what I seek to do. His comments to the paper were, I can never work with Zach Model and his family. So I believe, I am willing, like I called for all of you, for a reset in relations, to please start treating me fairly. I believe when I speak, when I make points of order, when I make things, they're not addressed. You steamroll over me. Tony, when I talk, you frequently interrupt and call out the mayor to silence me. Joe does the same thing to me. It's not appropriate. And so if you have seen me become extremely frustrated by the process, the residents have seen me become extremely frustrated by the process, it is a frustrating process. I'm a human being. And I come here every day trying to do a good job, trying to do what I believe is right. You can disagree with me, that's fine. You can't silence me. And I know, Mayor Grasso, you've got your narrative that you want to spin on this whole thing, that it's all a bunch of hooey and nonsense. It's not. There are legitimate concerns here, and I think we're seeing them play out in many ways. The residents are certainly seeing them play out. I urge people to listen and be fair, and I'm urging my fellow trustees to please reject this, as well as allow me full access to the staff and allow me to do my job. I'd have a lot less complaints to make if I could just simply do my job and get the information that I'm entitled to in a fair way, the way the rest of you are hopefully getting information, because you should be able to go to staff too directly and not have it filtered through Mayor Grasso. Thank you.
Al?
Occasionally, I stop by the village hall to check on some information that the board might be working on, or to ask questions about something else, to get some information. And not recently, but several months back, I couldn't believe when almost each one of the staff asked me, is there anything they could do about the way Trustee Model treats the staff and the way that he communicates with them. And, then I noticed all this started happening, so I haven't said nothing, but I do know that the staff has been very, very upset about the way Trustee Model handles the so-called information that he handles around the village hall.
Anyone else, Tony?
Zach, I applaud you for what you had, your testimony, because I didn't interrupt you in that portion.
Thank you.
There was no name calling, no accusations, false accusations with no evidence. And I enjoy and I want that different opinion, that different logic, that different reasoning. That's the best way we can serve our residents. And I agree that we can't all think the same. We're 6 different people, 7 different people. We're going to think differently. And that's what the residents voted us in for, that different thinking. And I appreciate that. I stop you when you start calling names and making baseless accusations that is not productive for our meetings or for our residents. That's the only reason why. Now, I'm aware that the staff is not comfortable working with you. When I have a question, I call Doug, I get an answer, I don't accuse anything, I just want to answer, I want to do my work for the residents, I want to make sure that we provide public service, public safety, and stick with a balanced budget. So those are the things that's how I prioritize. Now, this extra activity that we've got to deal with the drama that's involved, is getting tiring, and I agree. There may be, his hands may be dirty too, okay? But how has the mayor conducted himself? With professionalism and being cordial and respectful. That's all that we're asking. And that's how we benefit the residents of this town. We have that thorough, open discussion about items on our agenda. We put thought into it, reasoning, not agreement. We have different opinions, different thoughts, and that's the best work we can provide for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Anyone else? Joe?
Zach makes a statement, he's gonna hold up for everything that's right.
Joe, could you speak up, please?
Zach's gonna make a statement, he's gonna hold up, make sure whatever. The continuing act. No, here it is. The continuing, where he's gonna hold up for what's right. The continuing interruption, where not one of the trustees or the mayor could get word in without being called a specific name or a slur or something, or he's being hard pressed. The number of meetings, the number of questions, well, we can't because China's watching us. Okay, so he's watching all of us. The name calling, the insinuations, the accusation, then every time we'd ask for the proof. The next meeting, we'd have a different accusation. No proof from the first one. Then we'd ask for that. I'm gonna give it to you, I'm gonna give it to you, so we get down to the 4th or 5th or 10th or 25th accusation. No proof, no nothing. Censured once, twice, 3, 4, then expelled. I've sent them an email a long time ago saying, look, forget about the past. Let's work, we can all work together, similar to what you just stated, Tony. We don't need all the drama, the aggravation, etc. If you're gonna bring something to help us, rather than just pick and complain and do nothing except constantly do something not benefit to the village. So I'm all for the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Anita?
Zach, today your behavior is cordial and respectful, but time and time again, you tell us you're going to behave like this, but then you relapse to interrupting, slander, disruptive behavior. You've yet to come up with proof. A lot of your accusations are hearsay. You have also leaked confidential information, which is inappropriate. And the staff is employed by the village. It is our job to make sure that they feel safe. If they feel threatened in your presence, then it is our job to make sure that they're comfortable. And if they don't want to be around with you, then it is our job that someone else shows you those tapes. So I think the main purpose of your behavior is to disrupt the meeting. Thank you.
We're going to go around, then we'll get back to you.
Thank
Zach. Mike, you wanted to address legal fees?
Only with respect to the comment by trustee Model that you have an action pending in front of the public access counselor with respect to the attorney's fees. I would note that there is an action pending. I'm required to file a response on behalf of the village next week. And in fact, when I got the complaint or the request for review forwarded to me by staff, they also forwarded an explanation that the only reason that you received legal bills from at least my firm through August was when the documents were put together and transmitted to you on October 15th. Those were the last bills that the village had received from my law firm, Strino, Romello, and Durkin. Those were the August bills. They were sent in late September. The September bills had not been transmitted or received or in possession of the village at the time the October 15th response was filed. And there's no requirement to provide documents on a date specific that are not in your possession because they haven't been generated to you yet. So that is the reason why now the village has to compensate me or somebody in my office or some other attorney to respond to the request for review on that issue. So wanted to make the record clear that the village did not hold back any records of attorneys' fees. They tendered everything that was in their possession on the date that they responded.
Okay, and then I'm going to respond to what you said, Zach, and then we'll get back to you again. Now, as to your legal fee request, as soon as I got it, I sent it on to Julie and asked her to start assembling it. It was only within days after that that you then FOIA'd it. We don't have the legal bills available in a format to give you right away, and she worked as fast as she could and then gave you a spreadsheet breakdown. Of course, we didn't even understand why you wanted the legal fees, but they're legal fees, and so if you wanted them, fine. We did what we could as fast as we could, but you went right to the FOIA. Everything that you've ever asked me for, I have forwarded on and asked people to get it to you. And I've never heard you come back and say you didn't get something. I have seen FOIA request after FOIA request after FOIA request, and as far as I know, they have either been complied with or I understood that you withdrew a number of them. But I don't think, I don't know what the status of them are right now. I am never trying to control information. I copy in the trustees often on things that you want. If someone wants something, I would give it to you in a moment's notice. The Zach model that just made a speech for 5 minutes or less, I've never seen before in this room. I've never seen that person. The person I have seen that has been on the video, that the public has seen at the meetings, that this board has seen, has been combative, interruptive, accusation after accusation, never ever coming up with any proof. And you have been, in my opinion, nothing but an impediment. You have never tried to reset. I haven't seen it. I understood when I was not here in February, and I understood you made the same speech then, and right after the next meeting, it went back to the Zachary model. Everybody knows, not only in this boardroom, but apparently also in public. And for you to say you're going to agree with me when I'm right, and you're going to agree with me when I'm wrong, you don't determine that. I don't determine it. Nobody does. We have considered debate. I have always had a history, when I was mayor the first time and up through here, to build consensus. You, on the other hand, have done nothing but attack. And when you don't get your way, you interrupt, and worse, you insult. And then you make accusations, and you never back it up. So I don't know the Zach that is acting tonight. I suspect it's because an election is now coming. But I don't know really. But that's my suspicion. And this reset now is because of that. But the videos of the meetings, the censures that are well documented, the expulsion from a meeting, the need for a code of conduct, that has one common element, been in that seat. So I would love, I don't want to have to deal with you. If your champions or any of the people that you know want to intercede, or someone can come up with a better way to do this, please let me know what that is. But you all know, because you've dealt with the staff, that the staff does not want to interact with them. So I don't know how better to do this. If you have a suggestion, Zach,
I'm all ears.
Yes, Mayor Grasso, I gave several suggestions for how to do it. I'd also like to hear more from
What
staff.
are they?
Well, again, the law says that you could pull up the recording and the staff member could sit outside the
They
room. In the
don't
past,
want
that's
to,
how it's
Zach.
been
I
done.
understand that you think I can order them to do that, or this board can order them to do that. Even if that were true, you'd probably end up having these people quit.
Well, I'd like.
Two people that I
Mayor
know
Grasso,
of,
can I
and
keep
correct me if
talking?
I'm wrong here, it can only be you or Evan. It has to be a senior staff person, right? It can't be just,
No, the statute states that it has to be it says recording secretary, which in my opinion is your clerk. We don't have a
Clerk, and we
clerk,
don't
we
have
have a
that, that's
deputy
it.
clerk, so that's Evan Walter. And also, the statute states the recording secretary, the administrative officials, which would be the administrator, and once again, perhaps Mr. Walter, because he wears two different hats for the village, or the elected officials. That's the pool of candidates that can have accompany the elected official when he has access to the verbatim recordings. When people start saying, I don't want to do that, the pool shrinks.
and now, thank you, trustee Francis and trustee Snyder, now we have a solution to the closed session tapes.
So I was speaking
what's
when you
the next
interrupted
thing?
me, Mayor Grasso.
I'm sorry.
I was speaking when you interrupted me.
Yeah, I did, I'm sorry, because you said you had a number of them, and I just want to understand what are your suggestions so that we can maybe deal with them and get this resolved.
Again, I haven't heard from Doug or the staff. You know, when I visited Village Hall many times here, trying to hear these, since September 30th, I've been attempting to hear these. And I'm aware you've given me dates that are convenient for you. In fact, I accepted one of those dates. I too have a business and a job outside of this and obligations to my family and stuff. So I've tried to work out mutual dates that would work for all of us or meet with the staff. I disagree with the opinion that you or anyone needed to be here. I have not heard from Doug. When I visited, what Doug told me was that he couldn't give them to me, that you told him not to. Same thing when I visited with Evan. He told me he could not let me hear them, that you told him not to. So I don't know, if they're refusing to do their job, that's maybe another issue, okay? Because this is in their job and their job description. If they're going to quit and walk out over having to sit quietly in a room with me or next to me, maybe we should talk about that. But I haven't heard from the staff, number one, so I'd like to hear from them, not the filtered through everybody else here, because I'm not aware that I have any problem with any staff members. We smile, we get along cordially. If people treat me with respect, I've always treated them with respect. My two issues was with Doug and Jerry, and I've explained where I believe that came from, and we'll talk some more. There's some text messages and emails here that we can share later that'll help you understand why I felt that way about Doug and Jerry. I've spoken to Jerry recently, and I'd like to speak with Doug. But Doug has told me for months that he couldn't do anything. Those legal bills that I asked for, I sent an email to Doug, 2 or 3 different emails to Doug, which I shared with you last time, Tony. You didn't accept my paper that I brought. But I asked Doug multiple times for those legal bills. That's after I didn't get a response, I FOIA'd it. And Doug, in his defense, didn't give them to me because you have told him not to work with me. And so, I'm starting to see that Doug feels that he's not in the best position here maybe right now. And Doug, who does not have an employment contract, I'm maybe starting to understand that is why you maybe didn't want that, to keep him on a real short leash, so that he couldn't feel that he had the confidence to push back and say, no, this is wrong, or no, I'm supposed to deal with the trustees. Because quite frankly, everything here makes no sense. With the village code, with the municipal code, this is not how it works. What you were doing is completely out of alignment with that. So I don't care if people like it or not. That's the truth. And again, I'd like to hear from the staff. As far as accusations that I've made that you claim to be unfounded, I've provided emails and proof to this board. You've refused to look at them. I've provided them to outside authorities who are looking at them with different eyes, I think. And so, and giving me a fair hearing. I don't feel I've gotten a fair hearing on my accusations. I stand by my opinions of what it is that are going on here. And as far as name calling, you can call it a racial slur. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with your behavior, with the people you associate with, and with the facts that I see about how you operate. So you can, say what you want, apply whatever opinions you want, but I'm certainly entitled to my opinions as well. And as far as, person you saw or didn't see, You know, again, I've been wonderful in many, many meetings up until the time when I've been gaslit by this board, when I feel like you've all ganged up on me. When you have, since you won the election last year, turned the staff off to me. The only person that would communicate with me was Evan Walter via text messages, which we'll read later on his private phone, up until you probably got caught wind of that around the time the pandemic started, and you cut him off too. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have been listening to him. He was feeding me misinformation and perhaps trying to get control of things here in a not so good way. So I'd like to hear from Doug if it would be acceptable if I could come in, not even say a word to you other than please pull up the tapes. We sit there quietly and listen to the tapes, and then I walk out and leave. If that would be acceptable, Doug, and something that you and I could perhaps work through and follow the code, follow the rules, follow the law. I'd like to hear that.
Okay. Now, first of all, when you finally did allegedly accept the time and date, you did it the evening before and said you'd be there first thing in the morning, as if I could just drop everything and be available to you the first thing in the morning. I didn't interrupt you. And I said, no, I can't be there right at that moment, but I could be there an hour or two later. And that's when you came in, threw your fit, and when they said I would be there, you left before I got there. It's all on tape, and you got people.
But Mayor, didn't your email say to me?
And we have. I didn't interrupt you, Zach. And the video speaks for itself. Your video, which we then asked you to produce, I don't think you've produced it yet. Am I right, Chief? Has he produced it? Has he produced the video that he was taking of the staff? Not only was he throwing a fit, he was recording everybody. So I said, send us the recording. He hasn't sent us the recording, okay? Now, again, see, he makes statements about what his premise is, about me cutting off Doug, cutting off Evan. The first thing he wants to make is that that's a fact. It's not a fact. Just because you say it out of your mouth doesn't make it a fact, okay? I have never told Doug not to deal with you. But guess what? He doesn't want to deal with you when you call him what you called him in this board, in public in this board on more than one occasion, what you said to him in emails on more than one occasion, okay? So I'm trying to deal with you because staff doesn't. But again, if you have a better approach, I'm more than happy to do it.
I've offered it several
My
times.
suit against you is the way you brought gutter politics to this village. And the suit, your motion to dismiss, was denied. That's got nothing to do with this. It was what you did. I sued you because of what you did. Okay? Now, your opinions, great, you can have your opinions. But what your opinions turn out to be are verbal attacks and accusations on people. You just said it's still being investigated. There's nothing being investigated.
Really, I had a conversation with the state's attorney investigator this morning.
I knew you were going to say that because he called me and I said, guess what? He called you because we're having a meeting tonight. So he can say that I just had a conversation with the state's attorney.
He called me, sir.
Gregory Kleba, who's the
He called
investigator.
me, sir.
So, you know, it's all his creation.
I'd like to show the phone record because he called me, sir.
He called you back.
No, I didn't call him. I didn't call him, sir.
Zach, the Zach tonight is not the Zach that has acted consistently for months. You made accusations against our police,
I still have,
people in this room, outside of this, and what you think and goes between your ears is sure, it can be you, but it doesn't make it fact.
again, Mayor Russell, everything you're saying to me, I
Now,
say
Doug, do
back
you want to
to you.
address anything he said? And Doug, if you want to deal with Zach, please do so. Evan, if you want to deal with Zach, please do so. I have never, ever told you not to.
I just clarify one point. Trustee Model said something to the effect that when we had a conversation, when he showed up at the counter to ask to listen to the closed session, that I said something to the effect that the mayor won't let me do it, or something to that effect.
You need to make an appointment with the mayor or something.
No, what I said was, you're not following the board's protocol. The board's protocol, which you were informed of in January. The board's protocol, not just the mayor's, but the 5 trustees and the board, directed me as your village administrator to direct all communications through the mayor. That was back in January. And so I simply said, you were not following the board protocol. I work for all of you, as does everyone else here. We don't work for any one of you, we work for all of you. And when 5 trustees and the mayor gives me direction, that is, the village attorney says is legal direction, I'm going to follow that direction. Furthermore, I would just add that I've had several staff people approach me after board meetings, the day after board meetings, or after visits by Trustee Model to the Village Hall, saying they were very concerned and upset and uncomfortable and worried about their safety. So that is, I let Trustee or Mayor Grasso know about that, and that then led to this protocol and the continued enforcement of the protocol.
But Doug, can you sit quietly while I listen to the tapes or not? You're not able to do that.
The board has directed me not to do that.
Well, again, the board hasn't actually voted on it yet, and that was my contention all along. This was not board protocol. It wasn't discussed in the meeting. It's not voted on, and it's not legally binding in any way whatsoever. And if he directed you that, Mayor Grasso once again solely creates policy and solely directs you to do things, solely directs staff on stuff, it's out of line. And so again, can we not sit there quietly and listen to those recordings? Let's pretend there's no policy. Let's pretend nothing is there, just you and me. Nice, calm way. I'll bring donuts and coffee.
All right, and then I'll make one response to him, since he, again, made an accusation that's untrue. He said, I solely direct policy. What I did was send all of you that email in January and asked if any of you disagree with that. And all of you have since told me, no, that's exactly what you want done.
Yep.
And then I informed you that's what the policy was. And then when you said you wanted a board resolution, I said, Zach, if you want a board resolution, I'll put it on. And that's what we did. So your accusation that I solely direct is wrong, because what I did was I went to everybody and asked them if that's what they agreed. And again, it's about the staff and their safety. I forgot this, but when you can speak, when he was here and threw that fit where he was banging on the bell, I'm
right.
told, he banged on the bell.
For 2 minutes, I rang the
someone
bell.
said
2 minutes.
10 minutes?
2 minutes, 2 minutes.
2
Because
minutes?
I stood for
Two straight
30
minutes?
minutes waiting for someone to come talk to me, Mayor.
Watch the clock, it's 2 minutes. People, I was told it was closer to 10, but 2 minutes. Watch how long 2 minutes is when someone's banging a bell.
And I stood there for 35 minutes.
An elected trustee doing that at our own counter.
Ringing the
There was an
bell.
elevator repairman who was repairing the elevator. I forgot about this. And he told me, no, he didn't tell me. I found out that he's a Burr Ridge resident. And that he said, that Zach said to him, oh, you're working on the elevator, are you getting a kickback?
I asked if he was paying any kickbacks.
Oh, I'm sorry, you asked him if he was paying any kickback.
I have
That's the
concerns about
Zach
that.
model that has existed, not this Zach model tonight who knows an election's coming. He turns
nothing to do
around
with
to
an
the
election,
elevator
Mayor.
person and asks if the elevator guy is paying a kickback.
I'd like to ask every contractor if they're paying kickbacks. I think we should.
And
I think there's problems. I think there's serious problems, Gary.
Well, you can think all you want, you have no proof
I
of
have
anything.
evidence. It
You
will
have
not be
no
provided
proof
to
of
you.
anything.
Nor will
And
it
if
be
you
provided to
have
the
the
state's
proof-
attorney because he clearly has a leak.
He has nothing. There is a confirmatory letter back to the state's attorney, you all saw it, going through every item that he waited months to go to the state's attorney about and came up with bupkis. And they told him he had nothing. And I knew he would do this, so he's going back and trying so he can say, oh, the state's attorney's investigating, because he's initiating it. The state's attorney is investigating nothing.
Gary,
If
it's a
any of you want to
catch-22.
talk to the state's attorney or the investigator, glad to give you his name and phone number. It's an imagination between his ears. But he still wants, you see what he's doing? He wants to always spoil this village. Does nothing constructive.
We never had this problem till you
All
came
right?
back, Mayor.
So again, if you have someone who will deal with the staff, one of your friends, which is fine, you know, I'm okay with whatever the solution is. I don't want to be in the middle. I don't ever want to have to deal with you. If you can come up with a solution I'm more than happy to do it.
I think the solution is we follow the law.
Anybody
like I
else?
said.
Yes.
This isn't about your FOIA request, Mr. Model, or about your FOIA request for legal bills, or about the request to listen to some tapes. It's a much bigger picture. It's about how you interact with staff members. It's how you treat them. It's how, in the last year, you have harassed them, you have demeaned them, you have threatened them with their jobs, you have called them names, you have called them incompetent, insubordinate, and criminal. That's why this is before us today. You have lost the privilege to deal with staff. Staff doesn't want to deal with you.
What names?
Staff members are afraid to come into work.
What
Why
are
should
the
a
names?
why should a worker be afraid to come into work because of you?
I don't believe that to be true.
Excuse me, you're interrupting me?
Thank you.
I would be shocked if Doug wanted to deal with Zach and listen to some tapes. I would ask that the staff members not have to deal with him on these matters, and that's why this resolution is before us. I don't believe that that his privilege to deal with staff directly, the senior members of staff or junior members, that privilege is gone. And no staff member should have to come into work worried about their job, worried about being called names, worried about being harassed or intimidated or threatened. That's a hostile work environment you've created, and this is the only way we can deal with it. Gary's going to get tired at some point of dealing with you directly.
I am tired.
He doesn't want to do it. One of us is going to have to take over. Maybe Trustee Mattal is going to have to take over and be the focal point of your emails. And this isn't about control of information. It's just channeling it to one person, to have one person deal with your antics, not the entire staff and not the entire board. Just one person takes the beating from you. Trustee Mattal might get tired of it, and it'll fall into somebody else's shoes. And we're all probably going to have to take a turn at this. But, and you asked last January, February for a reset, and that lasted one meeting. The meeting you asked for the reset. The next meeting, you're back to your old tactics again. So this play nice today and get buddy-buddy with Doug, okay, I get it. It's an act, but it's not going to last. And you've already been interrupting me. You've been interrupting Gary, and you're already crumbling. You're already cracking. Thank you.
Anybody else before we go back to Zach? And Zach, one last time, and then we'll end this. If we go around and around. Go ahead.
Well, you could understand why I have a need to respond to some of these things. So
I don't, but go ahead. You have the
Yeah,
right.
no, I mean, it's only fair here. So Trustee Francis, I'm not familiar with what names and what threats or what anything you said. You've said a lot of things. I'm not familiar with them. I said that Doug and Jerry were insubordinate or incompetent. That's what started the first censure. I've not said anything else. I've not threatened them. I have suggested that they need to follow the law. I have said to staff that, there could be investigations going on here, and that if you're doing something illegal, it's a problem. And I've told staff members that if they feel uncomfortable, they can come and talk to me about things, and now some people are. So I disagree with your statement that I've threatened or made names or anything like that. When I stood in the hall here for 35 minutes waiting for Doug or Evan to come out of their office and talk to me, yes, I am an elected official in this village, and I expect that somebody would come out and not make me waste 45 minutes standing in the lobby. So did I ring the bell? Absolutely, I rang the bell, and that was a nonviolent way of protesting and getting some attention out of people. You know what? It worked. Evan popped out of his office. And as far as these other things, again, I'm not going to get a fair hearing here with any of you, and I understand that. So I will take my concerns elsewhere, my accusations, my facts, and my information elsewhere, and it'll be investigated. If you all don't want to do your job, if you want to let him usurp your authority and run the village, that's how it is. But again, I don't see how you can just change the law. Just because you don't like it, Trustee Francis, it's not my privilege. It's what the law says that I'm supposed to do. No, it's not my privilege. It's what the law says how it's supposed to work. We are all peers and equals. You can't bring me down. The only people that can take me out is the voters in an election. Other than that, we're all equal. We get the staff time equally, and there is no one that you can limit me in this way. But again, we spent a lot of time. I can see your minds are made up. I'm not going to convince this group. I don't get a fair hearing out of this group for a long, long time. So, I've made my points. I'll continue fighting my battles in the appropriate way, and we can go from there.
Yes, Joe?
Zach, your attitude right here is like you're not gonna get fair. Had you brought one stick of proof from, I don't know, 20, 50, how many accusations and the rest? All of the trustees, especially what Tony summed it up, we have a debate. Six different individuals trying to get a consensus to do what's best for the village. Not once. You attack the police chief. He asks you a question. You attack him again. He asks you a question. You complain. He asks you for proof. The mayor asked you for the actual video when you recorded staff. Have you given that to the village?
Under what authority did the mayor
Did you
have
give
that?
it to the village?
That's ridiculous, Joe. I'm not going to give this guy anything.
See, that's my point. Now you want to tell us all about how I'm
No,
done
the
this.
video
No one
has
can give
nothing
me
to do
anything.
with my
Don't
video or
interrupt.
not video.
Don't interrupt.
Okay, you asked me a question.
We interrupt, we do all these things to Zach, poor Zach. We ask for one thing. Well, I'm not giving it to you. How about that? I'm not giving it to you. Do you live in Burridge? Why do I have to tell you that? All of the continuous things.
I told
It's
you
so much
already.
easier when you're not here. We get things done, the meeting's going 45 minutes.
Yeah, you're the
no
rubber stamp.
aggravation. But with you here, it's like a nightmare.
Maybe let's call the
It's
vote.
like a nightmare. So can we move on to the resolution so we can continue and maybe get out of here early tonight, please?
Okay. Yes, Guy.
Trustee Model said that he never made the claims against staff that I, never made the, called the staff names or threatened them, and I have emails here from Mr. Model. Here's one from September 30th. He tells Doug he had better be looking for a new job, threatening him with his job. Here's another one.
Read the beginning of it. Read the context. How do we get to that point? Because that's, again, when he
Well,
wasn't responding to
it's-
me, when he was
it's
lying to me.
irrelevant.
Let him talk.
Okay, well,
Stop interrupting me.
spin it your way.
They're your words. They're your words.
They're out of context.
They're your words.
Okay. Doug, you're not being honest.
Thank you.
I've lost faith and trust in your, I'm sorry, this is about the chief, Chief Madden.
I agree
I've
with
lost
that.
faith and trust in your department.
I agree with that statement.
This is about Doug Pollock on October 30th. Doug, why are you lying? Doug, why do you and staff continue to lie and attempt to cover up crimes and corruption?
Yep.
Okay?
Calling. Here's some
This
names, though,
is
that,
November 5th. Doug, I'm not sure which is worse, your incompetence or your insubordination.
correct.
What worker wants to come to work in the morning and have to put up with this?
And that's
Evan made comments like, hey, here, I'm going to read
Excuse
these
me, I
to
still
you.
have the floor.
Okay, I'll wait.
I certainly wouldn't want to do it. If you were in my company, you would have been fired a long time ago by our upper management. They would not tolerate this type of childish behavior.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Need a motion to amend to add the the paragraph with the two trustees that have stepped up.
Okay, I need a motion to amend the resolution to add the paragraph involving, it'd be it'd be section 3, the new paragraph allowing trustees Schneider and Francis, along with the mayor, to fulfill the obligations under 5 ILCS 120 2.06E to sit with trustee Model during his listening to the verbatim recordings of the closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor of that amendment to the draft resolution?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Any opposed?
Yes, nay.
Okay.
Motion carried.
Motion carries. All right. Now, can I get a motion to approve the resolution ratifying the directive of the mayor that trustee Zachary Model cease communicating with village staff?
Point of order, didn't we have
And
a first and a second already?
And requiring that all requests by trustee Model for information from the village be directed to Mayor Grasso as amended.
I think there was a motion
There was.
already, so you now have before you the amended resolution. So
Okay.
you've already
Any
had
further
debate,
comment?
so-
Has there
You
been,
need
Yes.
to discuss public comment, invite public comment.
right, is there any public comment? I noted for the record of the emails that we've received, and they will be made part of the record. They've also been given, copies have been given to all the trustees. Is there any other public comment on this?
I'd like to make a comment.
Let's just see if there's public comment. Okay, there's no other public comment. I think you've spoken many times, everybody else has spoken. Roll call, please.
Trustee Snyder.
Yes.
Trustee Mytal.
Yes.
Trustee Cabeza.
Yes.
Trustee Chiappa.
Yes.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
Trustee Model.
No.
5-1.
5-1, the motion passes. Okay,
We'll read this for the next one.
now. I need a motion to go into closed session. I need a motion to recess into closed session for the purpose of discussing the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1, and to discuss litigation when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, 5 ILCS 120/2C11.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
Trustee Snyder.
Yes.
Trustee Mytal. Yes. Trustee Model.
No, I'd like to discuss this in open session.
Trustee Chiappa. Yes. Trustee Cabeza.
Yes.
5-1, motion passes, and for the public, anything that's decided, which cannot be, there can be no decision made in closed session. Any such decision or anything regarding this topic will be done in open session. So we're just going into closed session for that discussion.